Morning. It is Tuesday, April 14th. Distance learning again. For AP Geography, though, the next unit is about urban geography. It's this distance learning thing has been really tough because it's not the same thing where I can say something and ask you questions or ask you examples and work with you. It's really tough with this distance learning, but we're trying to make this work, and especially with urban geography. This is something you should know about because this is like Omaha. This is Bennington. This is stuff you see every day. And remember, geography, as a wise man once said, Dr. Gildersleeve, my teacher, geography is the why of where. And so with urban geography, we're going to take a look at the why of where. What's happening to Bennington? What's happening to Omaha that you can see, and what's going to happen? What are the patterns? Where have we been? Where are we now? And where are we going? And that's what we want to do with urban geography. So today's lesson is kind of just an introduction. And again, I know that the distance learning is tough with all you kids. After a while being at home, it's tough to think I'm a student because you're sitting at your kitchen table, or most of you people, probably your parents' basement still. But you know what? Why not learn something? You've got to be bored by now. So let's take a look and actually see if we can understand stuff and learn stuff. And we'll see what, we can understand a little, okay? So let's take a look at urban geography, why we study it. Well, again, urban geography is how everything is changing. When I was your age, I grew up in Bennington. I remember we used to look at Omaha, and we used to see the lights of Omaha. And we used to always joke about someday Omaha would be here, and then we'd laugh. Because when I was in high school, Westroads was the edge of Omaha. Burke was the edge of Omaha. There was nothing past Boys Town. It wasn't. And now look at Omaha. It's way out past Elkhorn. It's way to Gretna. And very sadly, it's way to Bennington and going past Bennington. Things have changed. A lot of times, older people like me, when things change, we just don't understand why. Well, I understand all too sadly why Omaha's growing the way it is and why Bennington is changing. And I don't know if good or bad, change just happens. It is. Change is what's going to be, whether we like it or not. And Bennington is changing a lot too. It's hard to imagine. We're one high school now. Someday we might be two high schools. How far out does Bennington go? So with urban geography, let's take a look at how Bennington's growing, Omaha's growing. And even as we thought we knew everything, with the COVID virus and stuff like that, may change things in history. And what I'm telling you right now, in 5 years from now, might not be because of ramifications of what's happening. All right, so let's take a look at kind of the basics. Okay, high tech. Missouri River, Iowa. No Iowa jokes because this is going on the internet. But Omaha. Omaha is here. Okay. What are the suburbs of Omaha? Obviously, we live in Bennington, and Bennington is right up here. In the old days, Bennington was called a bedroom community. People in Bennington were so far out of Omaha, but there was very little business in Bennington. But you worked in Bennington, and you commuted all the way into Omaha. Well, today, Omaha is growing out. Bennington's become, instead of like a satellite community, Bennington is now like a suburb, and the community, and Omaha's growing past it. What are the other suburbs of Omaha right now? So stop and think. Right now, you wake up, put the cereal down. Okay, now give me 4 other suburbs of Omaha and where they are. Go. As you look at, stare at your computer, going, "I'm supposed to be saying something." Think about it. Where are they? And you know the names, but do you know where they are? Because we're way up here in this part of Omaha. Obviously, we know Elkhorn. Elkhorn is out there, and Omaha is actually annexed Elkhorn, which we'll talk about next week. What else do you know? Well, Gretna is our rival. The Dragons. Didn't want to drag you into this. But Gretna's way out there, okay? What are the other suburbs of Omaha? What are the suburbs down here, kids? Especially you seniors. You should know this stuff. Men and women of the world, come on. Did you get Papillion? Papillion is a very important area. Omaha is growing into this area right here. And there's problems between Papillion and Gretna. Where's the line? And especially since the interstate rolls here and there's going to be a lot of development off the interstate, Papillion and Gretna have a lot of arguments about how far are they going to annex. Because eventually Papillion can only go so far because Gretna's here. But Gretna's way out there. What's about the area between it? Now, we know this part of Omaha, but not so much more so this time. What about your Ralstons, your La Vistas, right? What about your Bellevues? North of Omaha, it really isn't, there's not really one up there. The closest thing you could say is going to be Fort Calhoun, which is way up there. But Fort Calhoun is never going to be a suburb of Omaha like Bennington is. Omaha is not growing that way. Omaha is growing that way. And it's also coming to Bennington. But if you think about Bennington and where the growth is on the other side of the highway, yeah. Well, what about north of Lake Cunningham and stuff? The growth really isn't there. Omaha's not growing up this way so much as more this way, but more definitely much more so this way. And we're going to talk about where all these suburbs are and stuff. But we're going to do something else first. All right. Let's take our high tech. All right. Now, once you get out a piece of paper, hit pause and go find a piece of paper. Come on, you got to have a notebook somewhere in a book bag or something somewhere. So hit pause, go find a piece of paper or something to write with. Okay? All right. I'll wait for a second. All right. Hopefully you got something to write with by now. Okay. Now, let's go back again to our basics. See kind of what you know. We're going to be talking about Omaha and Bennington growth. The first thing I probably want to do with you is to make sure you understand Omaha, because we're going to talk about Omaha. It's not a huge city. Omaha is not a Kansas City. Well, I just said Kansas City. People in Chicago are going to go, Kansas City ain't not Chicago. It's not a huge city, but it's the closest city we've got. So we're going to look at Omaha. All right. So go back again to the Missouri River. You got to put the casinos and stuff on it because that's where the money is. And Nebraska kind of slides over there. But anyhow, here's the Missouri. Now, I better take that off. All right. So here's the Missouri River. I want you to draw a line straight off the Missouri. What is the main street in Omaha? You should know it. Dodge Street. Dodge Street is the main street in Omaha. It always has been. And it's just the most important street. Of course, Dodge, well, we're not going to go who it's named after and all that, but Dodge Street in Omaha is the main street. But there's a lot of other streets you have to understand. So when we talk about where things are in Omaha in the next couple of lessons and stuff, I want you to understand them. This part of Omaha, our part of Omaha, what's the next big street north of Dodge Street? Think about it. What's the next big street? Out here, you guys would definitely say Blondo. You guys know where Blondo is. But Blondo is not necessarily the main street going in all the way. Blondo is not as important. Maybe you might say Maple Street, because Maple Street, again, West Omaha is a very major street. But Maple Street, those you know Omaha, when you get into Benson, Maple Street basically dies. And Maple Street does not go all the way down as a bigger street. In Benson, it stops downtown Benson, where Louis Market used to be, and it shifts over to the Radial Highway, okay? And then the Radial Highway shifts over, and that becomes Cumming Street, which goes all the way down to the airport, okay? So you got Cumming Street. So this is going to be Maple Street. Then you've got Fort Street. Fort Street is a major street out west here again. In Omaha, though, see, again, it doesn't go all the way. Omaha's grown in different waves and patterns. Fort Street, which is very big in West Omaha, stops at about 72nd Street. Fort Street, if you guys know where Fort Street is, by Northwest High School, it stops where the Radial Highway is. It curls right past Marion High School, okay? And then at 72nd Street, Fort Street becomes a different street. It becomes Ames. And Ames Avenue is the more important street in North Omaha. Ames Avenue is a very important thoroughfare. But Ames Avenue ends at Benson Park, dog legs past that Baker's, and then it becomes Radial Highway just a little bit, and then it becomes Fort Street. So West Omaha main streets don't. Dodge Street does go all the way through, okay? And then you've got State Street, but that's, again, a different Northwest Omaha thing. Other streets that you have to know south of Dodge. Now, this is where a lot of you kids get a little fuzzy because being Bennington kids, you don't hang out down here. What's the main streets south of Dodge Street? Here, it's Blondo. Here, it's going to be Pacific Street. So in your mind, Pacific Street, it's the other side of Dodge Street. So if you're going to, that's where that Tri-Faith thing at 132nd is. They've got all those big buildings there. Pacific Street's where Big Fred's Pizza is. Used to teach at Burke. Everybody used to go to Big Fred's and all. But Pacific Street, okay? But south of Pacific Street, a major street that does go through. By the way, Pacific Street stops also at 72nd Street. Pacific Street goes just a little further to 72nd, and then it stops. Okay, and then it becomes a different street. Pacific Street then stops, curls, and becomes Leavenworth Street. So if you don't know downtown, or if you lived in this area, you would know Leavenworth much more than Pacific. Okay, all right. Now moving down south, Center Street. Center Street does go, and Center Street goes way from downtown to way out west. When we talk about malls, the first mall in Omaha, first true mall, was the Center Mall on Center Street. Center Street curls. If you guys know anything about like UNO Village, we're going to be talking about new urbanism and villages like that. Center Street curls right past the UNO campus there. I mean the UNO, the south part. That's where you have the village, the UNO Village. You got that park there. You got a movie theater back in there and everything like that. And then on the south side of the road, that's Baxter Arena. That's where UNO plays hockey and stuff like that. If you go way west, you're going to have a mall on Center Street, 144th and Center. Basically, it's going to be a big mall where I drove by the other day and it was empty. But even before COVID, that thing was empty, okay? South of Center Street. Again, we're way up here, so you start thinking, what's down here? All right, kids, think about it. Draw a line on your little thing. What's the next big street south of Center? Ah, the three of you that were awake got that one, didn't you? You know that south of Center Street, you're going to have L. And L Street goes from the river all the way west. L Street is really an important street in Omaha. In South Omaha, 24th and L, that's South High School. That's an important area. And then you have the South Omaha business area, which we'll do some stuff with later. Okay? As you keep going west, the industrial part of L Street, out by where L Street and the interstate are kind of parallel with each other, that's where you get things like Kellogg's is there and stuff. Well, that's off of I Street, but in that area, that corridor. And when you go way west on L is going to curl, and eventually way out west, it and Center Street are going to kind of become one street. Out past 144th, out past 156th Street, it becomes one street, and that's an important street that goes way west. South of L, of course, you're going to have Q Street, and Q Street is big. Though Q Street, when it goes, it stops. There's like a golf course there and stuff. And then Q Street picks up again at 72nd Street and goes all the way south. Then you really start getting vague for you people up here in northwest Omaha. Harrison Street, very important street. Okay, and then south of Harrison, now you're going to get that Bellevue Papillion corridor. You're going to get Highway 370, and there's other roads down there like Courthouse Square and everything like that. But the reason I want you to look at this is, and kind of keep in mind, because we're going to talk about where these streets are and things in Omaha. And when we talk about Omaha growth and stuff, I'll throw stuff out. Like when we talk about how the business area of downtown Omaha is changing, we're going to talk about how that's moved out Dodge Street. And if you want to see it, if you know where Boys Town is, take a look at the big development on the west side of 144th and Dodge. That whole Boys Town farm is being torn up, and they're putting big buildings on it. Well, just north of Dodge Street, where that Charleston's and stuff was, they put all those buildings there. That's a whole nother, like a downtown hub, and we're going to talk about that later with growth. And so I just want you to kind of understand that. All right, everybody take a break, especially my first hour kids. I know you're eating breakfast anyhow. You always did in class. So you take a quick break. Let me go ahead and clean this off. Did I mention that I miss you kids? It is just, schools were not meant to be empty. Schools weren't meant to not have kids in them. Distance learning, you can learn, but you don't get that same interaction. You don't get the one kid saying the one thing that everyone said. Did he just say that? We kind of miss that too. But anyhow, next thing we want to talk about is, I got to get one more concept to you, and then we can kind of wrap it up today. CBD. No, that's not something you made. There are like four people to back one on top. No. Stands for Central Business District. You have to have business. That's what you need for the city. The commerce is what gives people the jobs and drives the city. Business is important. The Central Business District is where that business is focused in a lot. And we're going to start talking tomorrow when we talk about models. We're going to talk about models, and Central Business District is what you need to know what that is. in the old days, it used to be called downtown. Petula Clark had a song called Downtown, Everything, though it's kind of changed a lot. But Central Business District is where the biz is focused, okay? We're going to take a look at Omaha and Bennington. So let's do the one that you know the most first, Bennington, okay? So if we drew Omaha, it's not so hard drawing Bennington because there's two major points. You got the highway, and of course, that means Cubbies, Runza, Subway, all that stuff up on the highway. That's the highway. The highway goes out to Fremont and west of here, okay? And then you got 156th Street. Goes up a little further, then it stops. But 156, you don't want to write that right there because I'm going to draw some stuff right there. But you got 156th Street, okay? Now, Central Business District is where a lot of businesses are focused. And you think about it, you don't want to have like a house and then a business and then a house and then a business. It's not usually that way. You want to have a business area where you can park and that's where you go to do this or that. A lot of people, you're going to Cubbies to get gas, then you run over to Runza or Subway or whatever to eat there, or you go over to the warehouse, you know. And there's Nate's too, throwing a shout out to all the Bennington businesses. We love eating at Bennington, probably too much so. Anyhow, but this today has become the new Central Business District of Bennington. Along the highway, you get so much commerce. That's where Cubbies is, and we get a lot of people coming in and out of Cubbies for gas and stuff. And so other businesses have sprung up around that, and that's become a business district of Bennington. But it's not the first business district in Bennington. No. Old Bennington was a lot different. Okay, well, it went in. You have to believe me on that one, it did. All right, but anyhow, you got the creek by Bennington, okay? There's the bridge. As a matter of fact, back in 1960, my dad almost died on that bridge. We used to have a railroad track going right by here, and my dad was in a truck and got clobbered down there. So anyhow, down here, you've got the library today. You've got the library. You've got the police area. Over here's the fire palace and stuff like that. And then you got the park, okay? The old business district in Bennington was a lot different, okay? The old business district is down here by where T&R is down there, by where the lockers are. You know, you got T&R right here. You got the lockers. You got Nate's down there. And if you know anything about down Main Street, Bennington, that used to be the business district of Bennington. When I was a kid, sounding like an old guy, because I am an old guy, but that was where all the business was in Bennington. That's where the Bank of Bennington was downtown, or downtown Bennington. I remember we used to even have a flagpole in the middle of the street intersection there. I've never understood that one. Anyhow, but there used to be a bank down there. Bennington used to have a hardware store, Dale's True Value Hardware Store. Used to get all my stuff working for farmers down there. That was downtown. Our post office is still downtown, but that's downtown Bennington. We have a church down there, and they ignite religion down there and stuff like that. And then over here by the grade school, you got the grade school right across the street. We've got, you know, today you could dance down there, you could work out down there. When I was a kid, there was a gas station. There's another gas station. Used to be over here, Muscles and stuff. And, you know, goes out Bennington, highway goes out that way. So this is Bennington Road, okay? And then, of course, the new high school on the hill. Yay, that's us, Badgertown. But you see, in the old days, this was the Central Business District of Bennington. And the reason was big, because we had a railroad track. Bennington had a railroad, and I talked about that. But we had a railroad that went through Bennington. And that railroad went all the way out. And today, there's nothing left of it, except if you go right by the creek, as you come right by the track, down by the old stadium, you can kind of see where it's built up. It's kind of like a little levee today. That was basically the old railroad tracks. And Bennington had a railroad station here. Bennington, what it was for all the farmers around here, Bennington was a farm center. You came into Bennington, you did your shopping and stuff like that. You went to church, St. John's, and then, you know, you did your stuff in downtown Bennington. The residential area in Bennington was right behind this and up to here. It doesn't move over here till later, but what happened is that old business district was focused again on the railroad. Today's trade in Bennington is more on the highway because more people, the traffic is up here. This is where the growth is. But you know what? There's still a lot of businesses down here and they do a good job. Hey, I get my car done here at GNR. Known Robbie since 4th grade. I loved eating down in Nate's. It's a great place. You know what I'm saying? A lot of you guys for graduation will have like your receptions upstairs there. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a lot of little businesses also down there. But what's happened is the traffic has moved up here away from this, and that's kind of taken away the focus of this. And so now Bennington has the old business district and the new business district. And where are we building? On this side of the road up here. Where's the future growth going to be? Well, it's probably going to stay. Oh, wait a second. It's already there. Think about all the growth along the highway up to here, over to Remington Heights, the old people's home and all that. Boom. The new growth is going to stay here. What's happened is transportation has changed all that. What's the future for Bennington? We're going to talk about that. Will Bennington ever be annexed by Omaha? Where's future growth in Omaha? And the big question Bennington people always used to ask are, when are we going to get a grocery store? When are we getting a Walmart? Well, you're not getting a Walmart because it's over there. But what are the businesses that are going to be coming into Bennington as it grows? And that's where we're going to go next. So just an introduction today. On the classroom, I'll give you the pages out of your book to kind of introduce it. But we're starting to talk about urban geography. And I want you to understand the models and stuff, but then I really want to show you how you can actually see the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you tomorrow and the next day, how you can actually get in your car and go and see it. And some of you probably ought to get out of your parents' basement and get in the car and go see it. So we'll take a look at where, and I'm going to have you driving around the Bennington School District to see where the growth is. Every now and again, when I drive down 168th or I drive even further, I think, holy crud, farms I used to work on when I was in high school are now housing developments. Well, where are they going to keep moving to? And that's what we're going to do with urban geography. We're going to look at big cities, the New Yorks and stuff. We're going to take a look at Omaha, and we'll also take a look at Bennington. So your first concepts, again, we are a suburb. Bennington, we wouldn't really exist without Omaha. Think about it. Without Omaha, Bennington would be small. And a lot of good people live in like the Arlingtons and stuff like that, the little smaller towns. Arlington is farther out. What Arlington is today is what Bennington used to be because we were that far away from Omaha, okay? But we are now a suburb. So the second concept we're going to be talking about a lot of, instead of like satellite towns, they're like a satellite, like the moon. They circled the big city, or like the moon circles the earth. We're now the suburbs. We're those bubbles of growth on the edge of the city. But the city absorbs them. Just ask the people in Benson, which used to be a suburb. Ask the people in Florence. Ask the people in South O. Those all used to be that things too, okay? Ask the people in Millard, which used to be a suburb, which is now Omaha. And, Elkhorn too. Elkhorn used to be like Bennington, one of those, okay? Another concept that we want you to make sure you understand today, Central Business District, or called the downtown. That's important because where the jobs are, that's going to be an important economic driver of cities, okay? In Omaha, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. I didn't do it for today because we're doing it tomorrow. But we're going to talk about what's happening downtown Omaha today and how is it changing, okay? And then also in Bennington, you can also look at there's patterns and change here. And there's still a lot of business and growth and opportunity here. But you have to understand with the transportation, this is going to be the new area where we're going to build all sorts of like storage and other stuff because there's area and there's the transportation becomes important. And transportation changes everything. We no longer have a train through Bennington, and that changes where we're going to have this. All right, day one, urban geography. Tomorrow we'll look at the models. And the reason we look at the models is not because you need to know just what it is, but you can actually see patterns are in cities of these models, and city after city, though no city is exactly the same. But you can see the growth, and it's changed a lot from what it was to what it will be. Have a good Tuesday. Take care. Okay, this is where I sit down. Turn off the computer.